To order, and we have, first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes from last week.
Yep. I have nothing.
Jane?
Oh, nothing.
No.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of September 21st as presented. Nicely done. I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. And I will make a motion to accept the non-public meeting minutes as presented. I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. You're welcome.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the second public hearing regarding proposed land transfer, which is really a lot line adjustment for a lot up on Beach Nut Drive. We did this, had the first public hearing 2 weeks ago. We're required to have two 14-day, or at least minimum of 10 days apart, so we're doing it 14 days apart. The request is that they're, just to summarize for people who aren't here, there's a circle of land up at the end, or up in the middle, I should say, of Beach Nut Drive, where the road used to end, and it used to be a turnaround. And while one side of it remains a paved driveway, the other side of the circle is actually just a private driveway, and but still owned by the town. And the request was to transfer that back over to the abutter there who uses that driveway for their exclusive use on the town land. And if there's any questions or public comment, I'll open up the public hearing for public comment. Paul?
Did you do the title search to see if indeed the town owns land?
No, we did not.
Because you said you were going to do that as a condition of doing that.
As a condition, not prior to. Which then puts the weight on the applicant to get that done and pay for that.
So it'll be conditional upon that?
Yeah, the conditions we talked about, I need to pull it from last week, but that was one of them.
Right away, access to the drainage. The town would need, the right, which
What's that?
we need access to the property for drainage.
Water and sewer
Yep.
and drainage,
Yep.
easements or keeping them off of the sold piece. A title search resulting in clear title and title insurance. We would want to get what we call valuable consideration. In other words, we're not giving it. And to do it at no cost to the town as far as things like the title search, survey, drafting the deed, registry of deeds, etc. Those are the conditions that we discussed.
So I was given information about who did the survey that December 2015 and January 2016, and it was Saborn and Tower.
Yeah.
I spoke to Steve Tower this morning, and he forwarded me a printout, which I forwarded this morning to the town, so that we could print it out in case anybody was interested in looking to identify the land that was in question. So,
Yep, and this is what you're talking about?
yes.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so we just got that tonight. That doesn't seem to show the exact dimensions of where the new line is going to be. But maybe that wasn't part of his job back in 2016 to do that, but that would need to be added in by a surveyor. Any other discussion, questions, Jim?
Yeah, I don't know where this section of land is or anything else. Is there any drainage or anything that's going to have to be kept up?
Yes.
Or that would be the buyer's responsibility, right?
Well, there is,
Once they own that piece of land, they own everything.
okay, Yes. Except for the town water, the town sewer, and the drainage for Beech Nut Drive. And it depends on where the line is drawn. We may need a right, even if it's not on their land, we may need a right to dig onto their land if we have to fix our own sewer. So they're not responsible for the town water, the town sewer, or the drainage for Beech Nut Road. They would be responsible for their driveway, their lawn, their,
Yeah, 'cause when I bought mine, I washed out that culvert and gave the town ample room to get down there and repair it.
correct, right, we have that map, there's like a little triangle, this is all straight line all the way up except for that,
Except that little,
that little-
culvert is.
correct.
Right. And that's exactly what land is in question, because the land we're talking about that then would be the street sits right on top of that new culvert.
Right, so we would have an easement to that culvert so that we can get, obviously,
Repair and maintain.
repair and maintain it.
I believe the culvert goes across their driveway, so the homeowner would be responsible for the culvert across the driveway. Today they are. That would not change. However, any ditching between and all that stuff would be the town's.
Right.
Right.
Any other discussion? All right. Board have any?
You want to close your hearing?
Oh, yeah. Do you want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion amongst the board, what we want to do for next step?
As long as we get with the things that we just discussed, I would be okay with selling it absolutely at the price that Tammy had mentioned last time.
Well, I did a little more math today with the paperwork we just
I
got.
figured you would.
Yeah. She was,
Sorry.
No, it's a good thing.
That's what I was doing with my
using our
phone just
numbers.
now, the calculator, so.
Yeah.
With what we received from the last sale we had, which is 2014, divided by the acreage that's there, it would be, if I did my math right, $217.
It's about right. It's a really small piece. of-
Right,
Yeah.
that was also 6 years ago. So, I mean, home prices, land prices have gone up like a million times, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's, so, I don't know, do we figure out an inflation rate? I don't know what to do from there. And in 2014, with what we did the last,
6 years ago,
right,
so it'll be 7 coming up. So
right, it was doing the math comes out to about $217.
you're the realtor, OJ. How much is everything inflated?
I don't do
Yeah,
Don't do that.
don't
this
know.
at all.
Different, different,
Whole different
different
scope.
land, yeah.
I wouldn't want to know for sure how much the inflation was.
I mean, it's such a small number.
It would be.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I go with $217 myself. They're gonna pay an attorney to draft up a deed with, land transfer with all the conditions.
That
It's
we
gonna
just talked
cost
about.
them, I don't know. For that tiny piece, I think that would be, and it's in line with
Right.
what we've done in the past, and you could inflate it, but 7 years, I'm sure it's gone up, so it might go to $500, but
I don't even think that much, I'm thinking
probably not even
250.
that much, but I don't,
Yeah, I don't think it's
250.
go.
but there's gonna be some costs, even to
Right.
make that small adjustment and make it, record it, get it recorded with the verbiage, and obviously town attorney and their attorney will.
And the title search and, yeah,
Yada, 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 so,
but yes,
I don't know, whatever the dollars,
I'd be happy with the 217.
217.
So would I.
217 is exactly what we sold the last piece for in this situation on a per acre basis.
Sounds good to me.
per square foot, I think is the way you sold it the last time.
I believe so, yeah.
I think
it was
that's
per square
good.
foot or
I've
something.
got one line because it was
Right.
actually
Three of you that,
unusable land
Right.
to either party
Yeah.
or whatever. But,
That's,
you know,
I agree.
if, say you had an acre of land and it was so much a square foot through a realtor, I wouldn't expect to pay
It was
that much per square
0.86,
foot
yeah,
for that.
no,
No,
right.
so, yeah, so.
So, yeah, I'm good with that.
All right. So if that's acceptable, we'll do it at a price of 217. So I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the transfer of this parcel of land for the price of $217.
$217.
$217,
1,000.
subject to any water, sewer, and drainage easements that are necessary. And just as a side, not part of the motion,
Mhm.
that should be worked out with Nate to
Beforehand.
make sure that something isn't included or excluded that needs to be. A title search showing town ownership and a clear title for us to transfer it. And the buyer will be paying for the survey, title work, drafting of the deed,
And I'll transfer fees.
and all other transfer and recording fees.
Thank you.
Is that,
I'll second.
all right? Any discussion on that?
No.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you.
You happy with that? Does that work for you?
There's still other work to do,
Sure.
so
Sure.
we can negotiate as time goes on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can communicate directly with my office, and I think Ray's doing your work. So I'll put him in touch with our attorney, and that will.
No, we just set the fee.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just if there's an issue with the title or
Okay.
Right, right.
all that kind of stuff.
I think
It's done.
Ray DeMonte's doing their work for him. So
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
All right, next thing on the agenda is a follow-up from our discussion last week with Riverwalk. Did you have anything else you wanted to present to us, or?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, so last week we talked about, well, numerous things, but I think the things that we have to, we look at and make a decision on is negotiating a fee for the
Land use permit.
permit, yeah, the application fee, somewhere above the $50 that we've historically been charging, and the newly instituted fee of $15,000, which is obviously a huge jump. And as we stated last week, it's our intention of doing that is really to be fair and to cover our costs here within the office to deal with the application. So I'm gonna open up to either one of you wanna say anything or make any suggestion, or?
Well, I don't know if Jamie is sticking with her 75.
I'd stick with that. That's where I go. It's half of what we decided, which, I mean, under the circumstances, I believe is fair. And I also, another part of the discussion was the tap fees.
Can we stay on this one first before we go to the top fees?
Sure,
Okay, that's
go ahead.
okay.
Do you
Thank
wanna
you.
say something?
I don't agree to the 7,500. I was thinking about it a lot. I thought about it a lot. I could check some salaries. So 2 salaries that you have in this office, that would cover about four weeks, 3.5 to 4 weeks gross, what they make gross. So if you pay a 7,500, it's not really covering everything that we have in the office. I would be, and also, my concern is that if we do it for one person, then in my book, the way I believe, is that we should have it the same for every other person. And I don't think it's fair if we don't do it that way. I would be willing to drop the dollar to 70 plus 75 cents per 1,000 and look at that price. But I don't think 7,500 is even close to meeting the needs of what's needed in town and the price that it's gonna cost. That doesn't include Ray Corber, or maybe you have to pay for Ray Dennis, I don't know. But, so it doesn't, it just doesn't make it for me. And I know it isn't that I'm being mean, or it isn't that I'm, I get it, I don't wanna rip you off, I don't wanna do that either. However, I don't want the taxpayer assuming more money for cost of building in this town that they've already assumed over many years with $50 for a permit. So I think we need to look at that, to be fair, as you said, OJ, to be fair. And I don't think that $7,500 is fair to the taxpayers.
I just disagree with the covering 4 weeks of salary because they wouldn't be spending all 40 hours a week for 4 weeks on this one thing. They would have other things, buildings and work to do. So that's kind of not a fair assessment. I do understand what you're saying, however, I don't agree that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I would think that they would not be spending cumulatively that amount of time on this one particular project. Anything that Ray does, Ray Corber,
Right,
is-
they pay.
Separately.
he's paying for separately, unrelated to what we're doing here. And then same thing with the state fire marshal, which because of the scope of the project, there's more things that either Ray or the fire marshal will be overseeing, dealing with, calling your engineer about, instead of it being Carol or Ron or someone from town. So I mean, I can understand that some of those costs that the town would normally incur are gonna be passed on to Ray and the state, and he's paying those fees, whatever they cost, we pass those through. And I also look at it, the discussion of the 7,500 was to take the entire Riverwalk project and look at it as a project with 3 phases, which is how it was, brought to the planning board. And if this fee structure were in place back then, that would have been the appropriate way to charge this, is you would have paid 15 back then, and you'd be paying 0 now and 0 for phase 3. Tammy's suggestion was to kind of blend a retroactive and forward active agreement where we still get the 15,000, whereas we got 50 at the first session, we'll get 7,500 now, and
We'll get an extra
7,500.
50, thank you.
7,500 at the next one, so we're just spreading out
Right.
really the same,
Yeah.
the same fee, it's just more spread out.
Can I ask you why you agreed to this in the first place then, Tammy?
Agreed to what?
This price that we had set?
It's one building being built in 3 phases. It should be one permit fee. And to be fair with when he set up his financing, when he did his plan and everything, it was $50 that he plugged in there. The difference between $50 and $15,000 is huge. And he has been planning for years to pay the $50.
How many rooms in one building do you have? How many rooms? In this, how many rooms are back here?
So the present building has 89. This one's gonna have 66. And the remaining is about 20 or 22. It can't be more than 170. That's what the master plan is.
Does that help you, or?
It doesn't matter, I know what you two are gonna vote, and I know what I'm voting, so we might as well just take a vote.
All right, then I'll move it along. I'll make a motion that we accept.
Can we ask these guys out here, or no? Can we include the
Well, it's not a
public?
public hearing.
Oh, darn, okay.
I'll make a motion that we keep the $15,000 application fee for Riverwalk, with half of it payable now and half of it payable upon the application of phase 3.
I'll second.
Do you have any discussion?
Would it matter? I worked all day, I don't need to waste my breath.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
All right, so divided vote. The other thing was to talk about the water and sewer impact fees. And the request on that was, and I guess we'd done this last time, you had paid a $150,000
Correct.
upfront, and then the balance was paid prior to opening over 3 or 4 scheduled payments.
Yeah, I think it was paid in the same fiscal year.
Within
Okay,
the same year, yeah.
So it was a total of $468,000. I paid $150,000 almost up front. It wasn't when I submitted for the application, because the bathrooms, faucets, everything has to be counted. That takes quite a while. And then we agreed in writing to pay the balance towards the end of that year.
Okay, and you're looking for the same,
I can do the same thing. It's just that construction has to start.
Right.
First, construction drawers have to be put in. That has to be reviewed by architects. It takes a while. For the first drawing, it takes several months to do that. Then we put it in, I believe, in the second drawer. Then we paid it off.
I believe that was divided into 3 payments, wasn't it? I don't have it in front of me.
That rings a bell. There was the
It could
initial,
have been. I don't have the check.
I think there was the
It was.
initial deposit and then the estimated remainder, and then there was a little bit at the end for the
Because
couple
we
of
had-
additions.
did,
we
Yeah.
had.
did the
It
board
was.
vote on this last time, or was this?
No, it was
Okay,
negotiated.
because I don't think we did.
But
Okay,
if I may.
Yeah.
The plans came in, and the way it goes is, at the time Carol, now Carol and Lisa primarily, Ron to some extent. When the final plans are in here, they look at all the bathrooms, the fixtures, and Dennis and Carol and the office here spend a ton of time comparing notes and water usage devices and stuff. So the final tally isn't done until the plans are in.
Right,
So we're
right.
sitting here, we're sitting here, I think Dennis has a pretty damn good idea of what it's gonna
Right.
be, but.
Right.
So my only, I have no input, I have no recommendation one way or the other on the phase payments. It worked before, it worked this time. I would just think that I wouldn't divide any more than 3s. I think
Right.
third, or something like that over a given time with a third at the end to catch up, because the costs, the in-house costs for us and time and staff time, it does take. Once that application, it'll take, once that plan set about this big around comes in, it'll take, this office will be busy on that for a long time to get that
Well, it was,
process.
correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, but were you asking to postpone the initial deposit until you got the final word from DOT?
Yeah, so that's the
Right.
third question. So what I'd like to do is submit a building application along with the plans in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're in the process of counting faucets and bathrooms and kitchens now. And then I can hand that spreadsheet to Carol and hand in that building application. And I'll include the $7,500 because Carol has to start looking at it right away. Ron has to start looking at it right away. But I don't want to make a commitment to the end. DOT makes a commitment to me, so that I got to make sure that the mediation process is not going to be that large that if I have to build a new highway through the center of town, well, the project's not going to go through.
Right, right.
I'll forfeit the $7,500, go from there. But I'd like to get the process started
Absolutely.
if we can. Because
I
I'm sure
understand.
DOT knows that there's a little fast track there. They know about it. As of this morning, Hoyleton has still not heard any comments from them, but I'm sure we will in the next 30 days or so.
Right.
So the town at the same time. So I like to possibly get it started. So that's the third question.
I don't see any problem with any of
I
that.
don't either. I mean,
I don't even know if we need to vote on it, to be honest. I mean, the
Right.
last time you just worked out a deal of how the payments are made. I think if it needs to stretch beyond a year, you should come back to the board, but, you
I think
don't know.
But
what
once
you're
he gets to go ahead, the decision that I didn't want to comment on was the one you just made on
On the fees.
waiting for DOT.
Waiting for
and
DOT.
Waiting for
that whole
DOT.
thing, that, because typically once the plan set comes in, the clock starts for us.
Right.
But you just solved that, so we can,
Right.
7,500, if that's what you choose, we'll make it work. And get,
well, I mean,
so.
Dennis has worked with the town and been honest and forthcoming and an asset, if you will, with the town for many years. I think he's proved himself to be a fair and honest guy. I'm good with waiting till he hears from DOT before you. And then splitting it up into we did 2 payments. I think the third one was kind of piddly just to
I
cover a
think-
couple additions.
Yeah, I think in the end, we added the restaurant. We didn't know what the restaurant
Right,
was.
right.
Okay,
And,
It was a
you know,
small,
outside faucet here, inside faucet there.
Yeah.
A couple of change orders along the way.
right. Ron?
go on.
This is a very good plan because we should get our work done in town hall first. And then 2 or 3 weeks down the road, if he gets the green light from DOT, we possibly will have ours done. Then I send a letter and the plans
Yeah.
get submitted to the fire marshal's office, which has a window of 60 days. So the
Yeah.
sooner we get our stuff done, and then he's just waiting for that, it'll be a quicker
Sure.
turnaround.
No, I'm good with it.
Can we move forward? Are we done?
Yeah, unless you have anything else to say?
No?
All right.
Yep.
I don't think
Obviously, we're not starting now, but I would
Right.
like to keep the process rolling so that nobody has to rush in the spring, the town, the state,
Sure.
yourself,
Makes sense.
and everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, we can get $7,500.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
$7,500.
There we go.
And
And,
$50
Well,
all in
knock that-
forfeit
well,
that.
knock that
So
down to
much.
the budget.
That he's willing to forfeit.
Are we
what's
good?
that?
It said that he's willing to forfeit, he said.
Oh,
He had
Right,
to.
if
Oh,
you
right,
had to,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Willing to forfeit.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
if it does, thanks for the gift. I'm just kidding.
All right, so you're all set with
Good.
dealing with the rest of that in-house?
Yeah.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is
Thank
to,
you.
the agenda item is appoint the building committee, and it's not our intention, it's not my intention to do that tonight. But just to introduce the idea, at the CIP committee meeting, we have been discussing that there is a relatively urgent need to do something with the police department downstairs as far as a facility that is larger and just more up-to-date and accommodating of what their needs are and something that really makes sense for the size of the force and the state and federal regulations that they need to follow. So we, the thought is at some point we're going to need a new police station. And in the CIP, we have started putting money aside for the design engineering of a new police station. The discussion also included if we're going to do that, the current fire station we have is in need of repair, and we have kept it safe and structurally sound without investing a whole lot of money into it, because it may make sense to put, if we're going to do a new building, put the police and the fire and the dispatch all in one location, which would save on some resources as far as shared office space, office equipment.
With the town too? You
With-
said the town hall too?
I haven't said that yet. And then one other idea that was brought up was, if we're going to do that, do we want to move the town office space into a new building? And then that would leave us the fire station to do something else with, and this building to do something else with. What I don't want to get into tonight is a discussion on which of those options. What I want to discuss is what's the process for us to get from here to a town meeting vote where we decide on a plan. And in the CIP meeting, it was thought that a building committee would be the best way to guide that process, which is what we did when we did this building. If you remember, back when this was a garage with a couple of finished spaces in it, a committee got together and really worked towards designing this, laying this out, and getting this to town meeting and approved. And we thought that would be the best way to do the next one. So I guess my goal here tonight is to introduce this idea from the CIP committee to the Board of Selectmen, hear their input, and then see if we want to establish a building committee.
In the CIP, what are we looking at for a time frame? How many years out are you funding to pay for design?
We have enough money in there that we could start on something in 2021. So if a committee was formed, there's money in there to, because the first thing you're gonna do is talk.
Yep.
That's cheap. The next thing is to possibly hire a surveyor or engineer to look at,
Whatever,
and again, the site that has been discussed, but the building committee is gonna decide is at the bottom of
Airport Road.
Mansion Hill.
Yeah, that's been over for a while.
Yeah.
By
But
Airport Road. Airport Road's over by the town building now, by the cemetery, correct?
No.
Airport Road is
It's
up.
at the end of
No,
Holland.
no, it's Mansion Hill, it's
But
The
the
the,
bottom
bottom
of
of-
Mansion Hill where the old airport was.
Yes,
Was.
Yeah, that's not
Okay,
identified as
okay,
Airport
but
Road.
it's the old airport.
Right.
Yeah, airport.
Anyway, that's the piece of land that
I
has
think-
been discussed.
I think there's a lot to be done in the village, in the community, as far as signs with roads, widening roads, paving roads, maybe putting up new road signs. There's many, many things that need to be done around town before we spend money on the town hall and refurbishing that or moving that and going through this big process. I don't think we're lucrative enough that I know of as far as in starting that. It's almost like taking and putting the locals on a back burner and saying, okay, you can still live with your crappy sidewalks and go on from there. 2021, I'm glad you saved money for it. I know it's been a vision for a long time here. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. I'm just gonna say that. But I think if they need a new police, Chad, do you need a new police officer station?
We're out of room. I guess the town has to make a decision on if we want to be a little town or if we're going to invite 50,000 people to town. We're out of room. We're out of officers.
Well, I want to get officers for you.
The town has to make that decision on
Absolutely.
what identity they want to be.
I don't think we need
That is my-
firefighters yet. We have Woodstock, but we need police officers.
Well,
Yeah,
let's-
you've been
let's-
fighting
Let's
that for
stay away
years.
from that.
So you need police officers.
It just has to
You
make a
need a
decision.
code enforcer, a full-time code building enforcer for this town, because you have too many people, and I agree with all that. Absolutely. So anyway, I'm just thinking out loud with you, as far as this is, and I'm not saying don't do it, but I think there's some other things that we should think about first in Lincoln, like making sure that all the short-term rentals are filled out, so we know who to call when there's a party, and someone complains about the party. I'm doing all those things. I think that's really important. You got a whole lot to get together before you start making more. A whole lot to get together.
Well, I'm going to just disagree with so many things that you said, because we have a pretty vibrant rehabilitation program regarding streets and sidewalks. We've got Maple Street ripped up right now, and we're resetting the sidewalk up there. We just added a whole new sidewalk to Pollard Road. We did Rue de Janeiro this year. We've been actively, not all at once, but one at a time, going after streets and sidewalks and other infrastructure. And something like this is not going to be quick. I mean, if we start talking about it in 2021, when is it going to be ready to go to town meeting? And when is town meeting going to vote yes? I mean, ultimately, it is the residents of this town who will either say yes or no. It's not the three of us.
Right.
All I'm asking is that we give the go-ahead for a committee to start looking at this and involve the community. I would rather there be, whatever there is, 5, 10 people on this committee that has representation of the community,
Right.
and not just the three of us saying, no, we're not gonna do it, we're gonna put up road signs first.
Right.
I mean, we've already established a program to get Airbnb or short-term rentals to register with the town. It's just that it doesn't happen overnight. We're gonna send these out in we're months away from sending out the notice
Right.
per our own
Right.
agreement.
Yeah.
That you agreed to.
Right.
So we should, sit on our thumbs until December and send them out, and sit on our thumbs more until people send them back? I just disagree with that whole philosophy, so,
Well, I disagree with everything you just said,
okay.
okay?
That's good.
Because,
I think it's a good.
Wait, let her finish.
okay, because there are roads that need repaired that aren't being repaired. There are signs that should go up for no parking. Tammy, it's okay for me to talk? You sure? Okay. There
I
are-
don't know where
there are
that
road-
came from,
Well, your
but-
face looked like,
I gave you're recognized to be on the floor.
Thank you.
Use,
thank you.
say what you want to say.
Thank you. I don't think you recognize the local people and what they go through when there's 40,000 people in here. They're told to call the police and then they're told that the police to call the town tells them to call the police, and they end up giving up. And what they're gonna start doing, if we don't have more police officers, is they're gonna start taking it into their own hands. They're gonna put up their own signs. They're gonna make it so they can live a life here. And I know people are moving out, OJ, because of it. It's noisy, it's loud, the roads are packed with people on the signs all the way down in front of people's houses. So I disagree with everything you say. I don't think you're looking at that at all. I don't.
But I guess,
I don't think the board does.
I don't understand the logic, how this even relates to the town building, other than that we should not.
Because of putting money into something else, I think we should focus where we need to focus.
Okay,
I think we need to
Go ahead.
focus on accommodating our public safety, absolutely. I think getting ahead of it is a great idea. Let's have a committee to look at it, and if the committee decides that we don't need to do this for 5 years, great. If the committee decides we need to do this tomorrow, great. I think we get townspeople together, whether, like you said, whether it's 5, 8, 10, whatever, and let them cumulatively look at the whole situation and decide and get ahead of it.
all right. I'm gonna call on Paul first, because Paul is a member of the CIP committee and has been part of this discussion prior, so go ahead.
Just 2 comments. First of all, every project that the town has done, whether it be the skate park, whether it's been water meters, whether it's been any building, it starts with a needs assessment. It starts, you take a look at what, as Damien said, whether you need it or not. But the time from the start to when you actually get it ready for a vote, it could be quite a while. So, and in that time, it just makes things worse. So, you really don't know what you need until you start the ball rolling, as you said, and you get a needs assessment. Then go on what Jane said, maybe you get going and you decide, you know what, it's so much money that we're gonna have to bond it, and if you bond it, you're gonna we're gonna have to convince 2/3 of the town to vote for it, because you're never gonna save that kind of money from scratch anyway to do the project. So it's a substantial hurdle to get any project like that done. So, the sooner you start looking at it, the better you are. And as far as some of the other projects in town, the CIP has done pretty good, I think. Keeping up with some of the projects. There are still a lot more. We're way behind, but those aren't gonna be resolved with the CIP. Those are gonna be bond votes. The sewer on Main Street, the sewer treatment plant, the water, those issues are gonna be bond votes. So I think people are gonna the people are gonna be involved either way.
Agreed. Ron, you want to say something?
Yeah, to Paul's point, you gotta look at this, do a needs assessment, but also we're successful in getting a grant for the air packs. So you go through a needs assessment, have that documented, then Chad and I could work on grants if the need is truly there, based on the committee. Then we would have that data to plug in to apply for grants, Safe Rack grants and USDA grants and whatever, that could offset a lot of that cost to the taxpayers. So, but you gotta get the ball going.
Anyone else, Jim?
My thought is, you put the town building, fire station, police station, everything over Mason Mansion Hill. Once that's all over there, does the town need this piece of property? Does the town need where that fire station
The
is?
committee would decide
What
that.
could you sell that for to pay that bill off?
That's what a committee's for.
Right. Yeah,
Let's
but yeah,
figure out that
I think it's needed, because 50 years ago, when I was in the fire department, when this was the fire station, there's a bunch of stuff downstairs holding this building up, post.
Oh,
We need a new building.
I want him on the committee. I'm just kidding.
Can I just say one
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, go ahead.
And unfortunately, I don't have we did a environmental assessment of the building, this building, this year, and I think we did well upstairs. Although there was some air quality issues, there were some serious air quality issues downstairs. The cleaning company was able to determine there is no fresh air, zero fresh air intake downstairs. They found where the ductwork for that ended, and the hole was never cut for it to be put in. and we're gonna try to address that, but this building was never designed, and to be honest, the guys, the officers, I'll say guys, because it's guys and gals that are downstairs, they've outgrown it. They don't even, their uniforms are hanging out. They are able to secure their firearms and stuff, but they've outgrown it, and the PD and sooner or later, the fire is gonna, Mr. Jane's chagrin, the fire department is gonna have to grow. Is it gonna be in the next 2 years? Probably not, but it's gonna have to grow. When the building, if Dennis is able to continue and we get 2 other builders, I mean, this town is conservatively, probably 40 to 50,000 people on a busy weekend is conservative.
Right.
Never mind that the state of New Hampshire and US Forest Service is saying there's several million cars going through this town on 112 every year.
Yeah.
Several million. Okay,
Really?
this is, yes.
They were all here
I
this
know,
weekend.
I live
Every one of them
on
was Saturday.
So it's
I live
like,
in my house for
so
one.
anyway, I think,
Saw them all.
but
Yeah.
the committee, as we discussed in the CIP, from a town manager standpoint, is the way to go. Doesn't have to be a large committee, but has to be a dedicated committee, and to look at all the questions that instantly arise can be evaluated. You got a needs assessment, it's a needs assessment.
I really think we need code enforcing and we need police officers. I get you, like the fire department, you want to make it, but we have
So
Woodstock.
I like the
good to
PD
that.
too.
What?
I like the PD.
I know you like the
So-
PD too, but
I don't.
I'd like to go and help them
But
out.
it's-
I'll put them get some more officers, we'll get another building. I'd agree to that. We need some code
We
enforcement.
can't get more officers to live in the
We
building.
have code enforcement.
Well,
We do.
we need more of it then. Period.
Let's have that discussion when we do the budget, a serious discussion about full-time code enforcer as part of the budget.
That's a good idea.
All right.
Sounds like a good idea.
But there's also more to it than that. If we have a full-time code enforcement officer, then we need to do a lot more as far as our planning department goes.
And we also have to talk about adopting,
Right.
officially
Building codes.
adopting the building code
Right,
in order to empower them. So
holy cow.
it's much more complicated than,
Just hiring.
we're not gonna build a police station, we're gonna hire a code enforcer.
Right.
Well, I don't care, we do what we need to do to control things.
I think that this is ultimately gonna be decided by the residents, by the voters.
Yep.
And,
It will.
anything in my history in this town, anything that comes before the voters, we never go with enough information. They want more information, And I think this is the way to do
Except
it.
for Riverfront Park. That got the thumbs up first time around.
So, Jim?
One thing, with the number of police we have in this town, that one little incident on 3A corner yesterday.
Saturday.
Yeah, how many town cops were over there? If something else happened someplace in town, with the number of people that are coming in and out of this town, I mean, it was a nightmare over there from because I was there. I helped put the trailer back up. It was a nightmare until the cops got everything directed in other directions. And, you don't know when something like that's gonna happen.
Right. And in the big scheme of things, that was relatively minor. I
Right.
mean, there's no explosions, there was no death, there was, it was
Right,
relatively minor, but that's a good example
Thank
of,
goodness, yeah.
we're a big
There was
town.
3 officers over there, if not 4.
So, with that being said, are we able to at least announce that we're gonna form a building committee?
I'm all for it.
Do
And,
you want to
and
discuss
Oh, yeah.
the size of the committee and the process that you're gonna go through so people can apply, or you want to put any general guidelines?
The
tonight,
letter
or
of
no?
interest, and I think putting a number up is a good idea.
I mean, it should be a very focused committee. I'll defer to Paul. Paul said a couple, but I mean,
right,
it's not,
the water committee has 18 people on it, and that's a little bit cumbersome, and
that's cumbersome.
And although that's okay, I think, for the water committee, because it encompasses a lot of
Right.
ideas, but for the building committee, I
Seven.
I was thinking 5, but 7.
Sounds good, I think.
So,
I have 5 or 7, either one.
I think it would work if you would have someone from the board of selectmen, someone from the budget committee on there. Ron,
Planning board.
planning board really doesn't matter. Well, as far as the building goes, where it gets put.
Right,
I'm
right.
thinking that, the board of selectmen and,
True, okay,
the
I
budget
get your
committee,
point.
Ron and the chiefs with their input. Butch, he's the town manager, and that,
Yeah, I would
There's five.
search-
and then from there, you might choose some people from the community.
So those
I would have
five,
Because you're gonna be looking for them to get the information from them.
Right.
First thing you're gonna say is, tell us what you need.
I would
Tell
rather
us,
have a
how
team.
about, look into the future and say, how big a space do you want? How many police officers do you think, do you see an ambulance building in there? Do you see that, because when that fire station was built, that was built to come this way. And that parking that's on that side was supposed to be extra fire department. Hasn't done that yet, but, maybe it's, I don't know. But there's some, it may not be to just look at adding new, maybe it's looking at the fire department and saying, maybe we expand that, and maybe we move the police from somewhere else, it's bigger. I don't know, but you have to look and see what the needs are before you even decide that, so.
Okay, Jane?
I want to see residents on it,
Yeah.
for sure.
I agree.
well, that was five, that was five right there that you had, and then if you do four residents, local residents, that's 9 people, however, if 5 of them, well, 3 of them are town employees, not that you're not residents at all.
Can I suggest this? The town employees don't have to take up space on your committee. They're available to the committee whenever you want them. Could sit in on every meeting. They don't have to be part of the voting.
The voting committee. I kind of like that idea.
I do too.
It moves faster if they're there, only because
Right,
every time you want to know something, yes, Ron,
I mean, if you wanted the town manager to be a voting member, that's fine, whether it gets to the point where I'm here or
Right.
not, but I mean, but the staff are gonna be
Right.
available,
right,
whatever you need. I mean,
Yeah.
It'll be,
You
my
got
guess is
people that are
it'll be every
salesmen.
meeting.
People that live in the town are gonna be the salesmen. If you're on a committee and you live out of town, you're not gonna sell it within a community.
No.
And the only way we've ever done any of these buildings,
Mhm.
because I've been on every one of them, is because you develop a core group of local residents, and they buy onto the project and they sell it with everyone they talk to.
I agree.
And that's how you get, it.
so you were thinking 5, so we have a selectman
Yeah.
and 4 community members
That's what I was
Staff will be
thinking,
here
and the
anyway.
staff would be
here anyway.
a
when
resource
needed.
to the committee as opposed to members of the committee.
I would
Yeah,
I think that's a good
ask
idea.
for
committee
letters
could
of
ask for it.
interest.
The staff was at
Is that right?
every other
Yeah, that
meeting.
sounds good.
All
Yeah.
right, then we will announce tonight that we're putting out a call for a letter of interest from anyone who wants to be part of the committee that's going to investigate a new town building for police, possibly fire,
Possibly town office.
possibly town office.
Yeah.
To look at the existing buildings and then what we want, what we need or want for a new building.
I hope there's a lot of interest in that.
So,
Yeah, I bet there will be.
all right, so there's the call. We
And
can
I
put
think
that on our
you should be the
website.
selectman that represents the board on that committee.
You're not going to, we don't have a representative on bill. They're going to call you if they need you, right? I thought that was.
No, we
No,
just
selectmen
agreed to
should
have
be
a
a member.
selectman
One
and 4
selectman
members.
member, 4 community members, and then the staff will be resource.
The town manager.
If someone else wants to do it,
Um,
do you want to think
it's
about it?
gonna- I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
All right. You don't want to do it.
Oh, I mean, not that I won't, I just think you are in a better position to do it than I am, so I would defer to you.
I'm happy to do it, but I'd also be, I'm on the CIP
Right.
Right.
committee that's funding this, and, I'll be kept abreast of it, I'm sure, so.
Yeah,
One
I
of you-
can, I can try, I can do it. When's it starting? I have to get it up and running.
Well, no, first,
It would be daytime meetings.
first we're going to have letters of interest submitted,
Right.
and then we as a board will appoint the members, and then you'll take over
Yeah.
as one of them.
Yeah, and Tammy just said it would be daytime meetings,
Let's,
I would imagine.
so.
let's appoint the selectmen when we
Are there any
appoint.
select people besides me that ever worked during the day?
I worked all day today.
let's,
The committee should decide when it's there, whether it's that night.
that is, I mean, the committee might want to meet at night.
Yeah, that would be,
So-
they must work,
Seems to me
right?
the committee would set their schedule.
Yeah, we think so.
Let's appoint the board member when we appoint all the members. So we're now soliciting letters of interest for the building committee. All right. So that takes care of that. Next, Vicky, were you here to see us on something particular?
Yeah, I did want to talk to you about something in particular. Am I ready?
Yeah.
Thanks. So mine feels really a lot less contentious after saying this. So I'm here sort of at wanting to advocate for the kids in the community again in a really specific way. And what I was really hoping for was to just have a quick discussion about the Kank opening this winter. Because I know that there's a lot of preparation that has to go into opening the Kank, and it has to happen well in advance. And you know, with the pandemic going on, things have been tricky with the rec department and the school and sports and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to kind of come in and have a quick discussion about it. I'll send you a follow-up email that summarizes everything, which I have written, but didn't want to have a spoiler alert. And but basically, I'm hoping that the board will commit to opening the Kank regardless of what the school is doing. I know that there was, that we didn't do summer camp this summer, and I don't know who made that decision, and I also don't disagree with that decision. And I also heard over the summer from Tara in a phone conversation that we were waiting to find out what the school was doing to decide if we were gonna do soccer, right? And basically, I think at this point, we understand a lot better how this disease is spread, and we understand that indoor environments are a lot more problematic than outdoor environments. And so it's really I'm a little worried that the board and the rec department is gonna open the Kank contingent on the school.
Yeah.
And I think that that's not like a connection that has to be made. I think the school is a much more problematic environment for the spread of disease because it's indoor.
Yeah.
Ventilation is a big problem. And the Kank could really be opened as an outdoor only activity. I have lots of specific thoughts about how that could be done safely, just based on, you know, stuff from work and how we're structuring things at the hospital and what the CDC says and everything, which I put in the email. But as a basic thing, I think it could be opened as an outdoor environment only without the lodge open, to just clear a path to that back entrance by the basketball courts where the bathrooms are. That's a separate hall with a door that closes. You know, you can leave the vent fans on in the bathroom all day while the rec area, while the ski area is open, which would make the ventilation better. So that there's access to the bathrooms. And then we could set up a walk-up window, kind of like the drive-through window at Dunkin' Donuts, set up a walk-up window. I want to volunteer that East Branch Builders will pay for the window and put it in before ski season starts, so there's not a budgetary concern there. But we could sell tickets, we could sell pre-bagged candy, you know, we could just decide whether we want to do lunch or not from this window. And most days, Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, really traditionally, it's only been open for 2 hours a day anyway. And I think that probably, I would anticipate that there would be some people that were concerned about, well, how can you open the ski area without a place for kids to warm up and stuff? But I would put forward the long-standing winter activities program at the school. So the way that works, you know, the kids are encouraged to wear layers and dress appropriately. They go up to Loon, they're outside for 2.5 to 3 hours. Only the smallest, like kindergarten or in first grade age groups, ever go into warm up. Everyone's out the entire time till they get on the buses and go home. So I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that, you know, you can open a ski area for 2 hours without an indoor like warming hut. And I just think that if there's some other details, but I think that it could be an incredible lifeline to the kids in the community. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only parent in this room with young kids. Well, I know Chad has kids. We went on remote learning last spring in mid-March. We had 2.5 months.
Yeah.
2.5 months of remote learning. And we have kids who have siblings. And it was incredibly isolating for the kids. It was super difficult for them. They had no access to anyone outside their bubble. They didn't see any of their friends. There's no activities. There's nowhere to go. There's no one to see. And the weather was warming up and it was springtime. You know, the Kank could be a safe way that kids could get out, get some fresh air, get some exercise, see people outside of their bubble, have some engagement. I linked in some prominent studies that have been done on basically the psychological effects of the pandemic and the isolation on kids. The psychological effects are pretty great. And I think that the CANC could be something, if we go into remote learning in November or December in this town, that is going to be a very long winter for these kids. I mean, and we're already seeing the cases tick up in New Hampshire. I mean, in the past week, the daily case rate has doubled compared to the 2 weeks before. And it's only gonna intensify in the fall as the weather gets colder and things move indoors and cold and flu season starts. So it would be very surprising if we managed to stay with in-person learning through the winter. I think the other things to think about, I think the CANC would be used more because there's not, especially if the school goes on remote learning, because there's not community basketball, there's not any ski team. All those kids on the middle school and high school ski team that rely on Loon for their Loon Pass are not getting a Loon Pass. Not to mention all the people that would get a Loon Pass, but this year can't because the numbers are limited. So I think that we would see a lot more utilization if we ended up going on remote learning. And the last point I would make is, there's been all the talk about the traffic in town, and we all saw how incredibly overrun the town got this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that obviously probably we all think that's a multifactorial thing. But a big part of it is that outdoor activities is the only thing you can safely do right now. And we have a lot of outdoor activities here, so we have a lot of people coming up. I think that we should be thinking about the impacts that would potentially have on the CANC, especially with Loon limiting the numbers of tickets that they're selling. And we should think about sharply raising our out-of-town rates if we do open this year. And my first thought in saying that is, there are a handful of families who are used to be Lincoln locals and have moved out of town that have been loyal to the CANC for years, have always gotten a family pass up in there.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way around that. I think we could create like a legacy pass, where if you've had a season's pass the last 2 years, you can get a season's pass this year at last year's rate. If you're a new pass holder, you pay the new rate. Or you could, even if you didn't want to get that, I think that's the best way to do it personally, but you could also just say, if you get your pass by December 1st in pre-sales, you can have last year's rate. And if you don't, you're getting this year's rate. But I really think, just based on my own observations of what happens in the weekends in a normal year and what happened this past summer, that we need to head off that at the pass, because these towns haven't supported the CANC for it to become overrun by tourists and have 150, people from Massachusetts there on a weekend day. That would be a nightmare. So I was thinking that would be a helpful way to get ahead of it. But mostly I just wanted to kind of start the thought process, because I don't know who makes that decision in the end. Is it Tara? Is it the board?
It'd be the joint boards because it's rec department, so it'd be the joint board.
Yeah.
That's what it was for day camp, was a
Yeah.
joint, the Lincoln and Woodstock boards together.
So I think it would be helpful to start thinking about it, because I do think it can be safely opened, and it may be the only thing that's safe to open this winter for the kids in this community. To get out of their houses and to see people outside of their immediate bubble.
I have two
In a safe way.
comments. I agree with absolutely everything you said except for two things. I think eliminating out-of-town day tickets
Yeah.
is gonna be how we're gonna have to do it. Not the season pass holders, because you're right, we have
Yeah.
families that have moved to Campton or Thornton and Bethlehem that
Yeah.
are local kids that are raising their families there, come to the CANC every year. And the other one is penny candy. How are we gonna do penny candy?
I was
That's
just
important
thinking
to me.
pre-bagging it, you just buy those little tiny snack bags or something.
It's just not the same.
So it's not the same,
I know.
but that's probably where the majority of our influenza epidemics in Lincoln have come from in the past 20 years, is the penny candy at the CANC.
Yes, you only eat the fish out of the new bag. That's it.
So I am going to also just wanted to say, I'm gonna send an email with just the specifics, and I also linked a bunch of different articles about for safety references and the psychological impacts on kids and stuff I talked about. But also, I'm gonna ask for people to give a show of public support. I don't wanna do any sort of, it's not a petition or anything. I don't wanna do anything with signatures because of the pandemic, but just so that it doesn't sound like this is just coming from me, so that the board and the rec department can all see, like, there's a big, wave of public support around the idea of trying to make sure we have something for the kids this winter, especially if the school goes remote.
Absolutely.
And it would just be email, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Should I, when I do the email, do I send it to is there like a Board of Selectmen email that's just one email, or is it just?
Separate.
Separate?
Yeah, just send it to the town hall or town manager, and we'll forward it to the board.
Yeah.
That's the best way, Ken.
Yeah.
Probably the town hall, and Jane disperses it.
Okay.
You can copy me. Just as a side point, Tara and I had this exact conversation last week. I've been talking with the board, department heads. A lot of the stuff that you just talked about, are in conversations in her group.
Yeah.
We definitely want to get that open under the state guidelines, obviously, and
Yeah,
so it's all good. I think, so you're on point, but I think it's a good idea with
yeah, I
the
was hoping.
town petition and, yeah.
I think so too. Vicky,
But
I
there
think-
it is gonna be a different looking ski season, but it definitely can open.
Yeah.
We even talked about the stanchion outside heaters for, and
I thought
during the
about
real
that.
cold days,
Yeah,
for the
those
little
things.
folks and stuff.
And even we've had bonfires and stuff there. The thing that I think is problematic about that, that's tough about that, is those things by their nature just bring people together. And our whole goal is to keep people apart. And
Right.
really, the coronavirus, it survives better in the cold than it does in warmth and in the humidity. So in cold, dry air, which is New Hampshire winter, it survives better. And so it's even more critical that we're being careful about stuff. I mean, the ski equipment naturally physically distances people, so I think that's helpful, but I love those ideas if it wasn't, coronavirus, but I worry a little bit about how that would bring people more physically in closer vicinity.
I'd like to,
The bathroom cleaning,
Yeah.
what you're
we're working
saying
on
about-
that, how to keep, the bathrooms clean.
The other,
Okay.
the other thing I was thinking along the lines of the winter activities program is, there's other things to think about, like if we're not gonna have an indoor space, there could be a temperature cutoff. Like the school's winter activities program, it has to be above 10 degrees.
Right.
Or it's canceled.
Yeah.
If it's 10 degrees or below, you
We
might
don't
as well
open.
not open anyway,
Right.
because who's gonna last more than 20 minutes
Right.
under 10 degrees with no place to warm up,
Right.
How's
So-
the rec in the school connected? How is that?
So-
You said that they were fine with this, you hope.
No,
they
I-
do.
The
They're
rec
not-
department does all the elementary sports.
Can I,
Yeah, no, they're not connected. The only way they're connected is I think that a lot of people with kids would think well, how am I gonna bring my kid to the Kank to ski for 2 hours or an hour and there's nowhere wait for them to warm up?
Right.
I would use the winter activities as an example in that the school does this every winter where every Friday they go up and they're outside for 2.5 to 3 hours without warming up. It's possible when you dress appropriately and you're expecting that you're not gonna be able to go in and warm up. You have your layers and you're dressed appropriately that, you can, it's not unreasonable to think that kids can be helped that long. The only other connection I can think of is traditionally we haven't opened the Kank on Fridays after school because of winter activities. If school goes remote and we don't have winter activities, or we don't have winter activities because of loons limiting their occupancy, I don't actually know what the plan is. I think it would be nice if we could open the Kank on Fridays if we're not gonna have winter activities.
the foresight that you have regarding getting very busy is very smart. Because you saw what had happened here with we can't gazebo and everything else, so,
Yeah.
I think that's good foresight on the next departments.
So anyway,
Decide
I
to
will
do
definitely, I'll send the summary email
Yeah.
and I am gonna put out kind of a public, please give feedback to the town and the board
Yeah.
about what your thoughts are in either direction, if you're in support of it or if you have concerns.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Another thought
Yes.
that we had was no lunches. Don't do lunches. We'll shut down for that half an hour or make it an hour.
Yeah.
Go home, have lunch, come back.
Yeah, I
Go
thought
home,
about
warm up,
that too.
change, have lunch, come back, yeah.
Yeah.
And just stay
It might
away
just
from that.
simplify things, and also, for people who, they might take their kids for the morning hours, there's 2 hours open in the morning, and then there's, 3 hours in the
Yeah.
afternoon. You decide you wanna go in the morning or the afternoon, because if it's not a beautiful day.
Right.
it's
There
hard
are a
to
lot
live
of ideas that, but I think everybody that I've talked to is definitely in support of opening this winter, that somehow open it.
Yeah.
And get it going.
Awesome,
I like all your ideas.
thanks.
Because I want that penny
Thank you.
candy.
And you said Tara's already working on plans and ideas to make this
We're gonna have more
happen?
discussions, but it falls right in line with
Yeah.
what
Okay.
she said, yeah.
I mean, I would think that if she or the staff or whatever were thinking otherwise, that we would want to have a serious discussion as to why and how we can get around it.
Yeah,
If you're pursuing the, not you, but if you and Tara are pursuing the idea that it's going to open, but windows and restrictions and changing times, and then that's fine. Keep going down that road.
We're keeping the health officer and our health officer involved, and obviously the guidelines, the governor's guidelines on having them come out on ski areas, you know, and CDC is kind of silent, so, but it's gonna have to happen shortly.
Okay.
They've said eating establishments have been, you know, which we've already said that, you know, eating, so, but,
Yeah.
the spacing and gondolas, and we don't have gondolas, and, you know, so.
No, the rope tour does a good job spacing people.
It really does, that blue pole.
That's right. That's
The
right.
poison.
Blue hole.
We've been doing that for years down there,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I love the sense of the rec in the community that is felt with the rec department and the younger students or people with families. Because I remember that with Corbin, and I love that sense of community in the rec, at the rec department.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was always nice.
I don't know
Hopefully we
that
can
any
keep it.
place in this town feels like more like a small community than the Kank.
I don't
the
either
Kank
anymore.
family that skis
Yeah.
there every year.
Yeah.
It really brings people in.
It does, it does.
No,
What
it's
do you
the
think
candy.
of trick or treating in the streets with the kids? If I can ask you that.
Honestly, I am not concerned about trick or treating.
Okay.
I really am not. I mean, I think that we should all be, if we were really concerned about not making adjustments to the way candy's handed out or something, then we should just ask people to wear masks.
Yeah.
You know, just like they are in school all day long. These kids are in masks all day.
They are.
They are well conditioned to wear masks, and they'd be perfectly happy to wear masks if it meant that they could trick or treat. And if you don't want to make adjustments to how each house delivers the candy, like if they're setting it out on the step and people are getting there, masks are a good way around that because, you know, it makes it safer if you come to close proximity. But really outdoors, I put the study in the email that I'm going to send you, but the studies that have been done, it's really, really unusual to catch this outside.
Yeah.
You know, it's really an indoor thing, mostly, unless you have close proximity for a prolonged period of time outside, like a close-up conversation for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I really think that trick-or-treating can be done safely personally.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome, thanks.
Thanks for coming, Vic. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, we're ready to move on to town manager's report.
Just a couple of things, Old Black Mountain Road, I think last week I mentioned, there was a letter from the owner of or the attorney representing the owner of, that has all been referred to town council, and we're trying to figure out who's right and who's wrong, so. that's
All right.
the update there. Anything more than that,
I say, David Zarian wrote us a letter
yeah,
that we were copied on. I'd like to at least discuss that
in non-public.
in non-public
Oh, good,
tonight.
because that'd be awesome.
Water ban drought update is, water ban, last week you voted it in, Mike Bowden contested the ban that it wasn't properly noticed, and upon investigation, as far as our ordinance, he was right. We needed to have it voted on, which it was, and then it didn't take effect for 3 days. So that was correct. However, what wasn't right is there is verbiage under the,
DOE.
under the DES rules, okay, that do allow a town to institute water bans, okay, through public. The problem with, as we read it, is that we can turn off any public taps, okay, but like a private water system, you need the ordinance to control the private water system. So it all worked out. The ban is now in effect under the ordinance. And I believe Dave can update me, but I believe the first week we dropped 150,000 gallons in usage. That's according to Nate this afternoon at 4. And then it's been averaging about 700,000 a day through the weekend. So it did help. It did help. As far as I know, haven't heard any. I think we had one issue of a leaking swimming pool. I don't know if that
Yeah, I
was
haven't found any
determined.
more about that.
that.
I'm sure there is. Sure there are.
Hopefully, we're gonna get a couple of inches of water Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even a little more. It should certainly help. I don't believe it'll solve the drought, but it isn't gonna hurt. The river is really low. So we appreciate everybody's cooperation.
Okay,
And
if I could just comment on it. that
Yeah.
Mike Bowden's complaint was not a valid complaint. The first ordinance that he passed, that was to deal with private wells. And the town can regulate people on private wells from not doing outdoor watering and everything. But after that, the second week when you guys voted to put a ban on, I believe you were the one who said we've done it before and never had to do any notice. You don't have to notice for the public water supply to put a ban on. It's all, the other one was for private wells, and the town could say, or the public water supply could say that. And that's when you have to notice the people and give them the time to say, this is what you have to do it after 3 days. You've got 3 days to do it. But other than that, we were fully in compliance with the state DES regulations. That Jane made the second one, and why you voted on it the second time. And it should have become effective immediately. But there was a complaint about it, so we erred on the side of caution, I guess you might say.
Right.
Said, okay, we'll give you the 3 days, whatever, but it didn't really have to be that way.
Well, that's good.
We erred on the side of legal advice caution.
Oh,
So-
Again, we can't all be, legal experts in this, and
Right.
you're probably right, but again,
Oh, I
For the-
checked into it, and I.
for the
went
one
several different
issue,
times, and I
it
have a
was-
letter from the
it
lady
made
that
sense to
gave
just,
advice and said, yeah,
wait
you're
3
fine to do
days.
that.
So,
Oh, yeah,
so,
I just wanted that to be said for the record, that we were actually all right doing what we did.
what we did,
We weren't, it wasn't a
Okay.
harassment issue that got brought up, so, just so that is understood.
that's,
Well,
thank you, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What's the status of Cold Spring Well?
They haven't done anything with it yet, but I
They're
checked.
still not back in town?
If we had to use the other ones that they're not working on, we could use them if we had to use them,
Okay,
other than the two that they've worked on.
there's
There's
5?
5 or 6 of them out there,
Okay, and 2 of them are tied up,
right?
so we could use 4.
Yeah, and then we only use 2 or 3 of them at a time anyways,
Okay,
for right now, or in the past, that's what we had. If we
All right.
had to- I'm sure the water table's down in those 2.
I was gonna say, you probably can't run those 24 hours with the way the water level is anyway,
Right.
so, okay. All right, well, it's good to hear that we dropped 150,000 gallons a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it is.
this was a busy weekend. There were tons
Oh,
of,
yeah.
I mean, every restaurant,
We were up over 700 this weekend, so,
yeah, but
but we're down to a little over 500 during the week.
what are we on a regular weekend, like in August? Are we up to,
Well, oh yeah, we're over 1 million
A
in
million?
August, yeah.
yeah,
So it's still down,
And
yeah.
now with the leaves, we're right around 1 million on weekends.
but we were down to 700 this weekend.
Yeah.
That's 300,000 a day.
That's
You know, and
significant,
It is.
It wasn't as hot, so people weren't using the water, and
right.
whatever as much, but.
All right, well, good update.
and the other thing I got is just the governor and council signed a proclamation prohibiting open fires and smoking. So there's a fire ban in effect till further notice. I don't think that's caused any problems yet. I'll let Ron.
Had to educate a couple of short-term rental properties.
Okay.
They didn't know.
Mhm.
They were good about it.
Good.
And that's all I got for today.
All right, for the water committee meeting this Thursday, is Weston and Sampson coming in?
They're zooming in.
They're zooming, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the size of the committee, there's several of us that are not going to, we'll be zooming into, because
Okay,
this room is
I'll be zooming.
17 people is just on the committee. So and 6 to 10 feet apart. I'll be zooming in. I think there's 5 or 6 that I've got now that will, members of the committee that will be zooming in.
Zooming, okay,
13 or 14.
that should be fine then. All right, did you have anything?
I do.
Go ahead.
I got asked on Maple Street if it was widened, and I said I didn't believe so because that was what I heard. Was it widened?
No,
Okay. Oh, the draft requirements, we did get those regarding the levy? Get those back?
you've had them
Yeah.
for months, yeah.
Okay.
They were an email. The draft.
I thought so.
The
Wait,
draft of the
and their
maintenance manual.
Yeah.
Okay,
Then
but,
we've made changes, but the actual manual hasn't arrived.
okay.
all right.
Yeah.
Has the craft fair been approved by Loon?
I'm not even sure no-one's been contacted.
Okay.
So the answer is no. I think we've heard.
Someone had asked about street sweeping back, and it was $42,000 a year. Has the Public Works ever thought of buying their own? Are they too expensive? Or do we need another?
It was $4,200.
$42,000 for a year.
It's $4,200
Oh,
per sweep.
oh.
For how
Right,
many
I think,
times
I
you
think we
sweep.
were looking at 10 weeks of the summer, and that's what she got that.
Yeah,
from.
that's what we made.
42,000.
And no, since I've been here, we've not considered buying a sweeper.
It's not in the CIP, I'll tell you that.
No.
What's that?
I said probably not at about $250,000.
Right.
They cost about
Oh,
$250,000.
yeah, they're not cheap,
Uh-huh,
I don't know.
150,
at least.
150.
You could probably buy one of Avery's cheaper than that.
All right, anything else? No?
No, thank you. No.
Did you have?
Any update on Riverfront Park?
Yes,
Can we cut trees?
we're close, but DES did approve us to put a parking lot by the old Bernie site. So,
So let's cut some trees.
well, we still gotta get the permits, but yes, that's a big step.
That's
a
huge,
step.
yeah. No, that's
So,
great.
We'll do they'll do the actual calculations on the loading on that site. DES did need to see those numbers
Right,
and then how much of the site was actually gonna have to be excavated, which is minimal.
right.
It's gonna be a fill. So that's a big step in the right direction. So
Any
It's
estimate on
progressive.
when we can cut trees?
as soon as we press that with the guys, as soon as we get those permits, we'll start
Okay,
shaping it and getting, yeah. We still got some work to do in the main body of that piece of land. But this is a big step forward.
the only other thing I have is I was asked by, it was brought to my attention by a local resident. And I don't know if we are responsible for the signs near Citizens Bank, coming into that plaza. It's one way. You can only enter in off of Main Street, where you enter by the bank near the
Drive-in?
drive-up window.
Those are not town, those are.
Those are Paul, okay,
Yeah.
because one of them, you can only see like half of the one-way do not enter. It's just faded, looks like it's been knocked down, it's kind of rusty on the edge. And cars are constantly coming out onto Main Street there. And it was brought to my attention, and then on my way home yesterday, as a matter of fact, I saw two little kids on a bike, they're probably 12. That almost got wiped out by a Porsche that was coming out of there really fast. It wasn't looking at the kids, was looking at the traffic to get out into it. And if I didn't have my kids with me, I would have pushed them back in with my van, but I had kids, so I didn't.
Yeah, so the answer is, it's private, signs
So
on
could
private
we
property.
please contact Paul and ask him if he could please replace that one sign and maybe add one on the other side of that entrance so that you can see it from both, no matter how you look at it, you see a sign that says, do not,
The one-way sign at the bank.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I've seen more this year coming out of there.
Tons, and it's
Yeah.
because you can only see part of that
Is
sign.
that why?
And afterwards, I went and drove in there, looked at it, and went, oh, well, I guess you can't yell at them if they can't see the sign.
Now we know.
So, right.
Yeah.
Chad,
wonder
can you
why
take
they're
a look at that too?
Oh, I've seen it. It used to be red. I think it's half white now.
Yeah,
it is.
it's all, yeah.
This is one way. Doesn't seem-
I think it's one way, yeah. Wrong way?
Wrong.
Wrong way. Well, it says AY now. It says A,
Hey,
because
Hey,
way, I think.
A way.
Yeah,
I think most are gonna do what they want, but it's nice if it's properly signed.
exactly.
It helps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then when never mind, when I let it run over the Porsche, I could say, well,
Anything
that
else?
was it, the other thing. it
just
has
to
be-
follow up on the Riverfront Park, I attended the meeting with Ray Corber and the environmental guy. And the next steps that they're gonna be taking is to finalize the design for that parking lot and get the DES approval and all of that. And then do just spot environmental testing in the skateboard park, walking path area with the intent that they don't find anything, they'll say, okay, this area is cleared and safe and we can start cutting trees and doing everything we want here. Same thing with the path down to the kayak ramp
Yeah,
and leaving sort of that middle area that we're not gonna develop right away, just
untouched.
untouched, just leave it for now and get going on this. One of the things that was discussed is with the parking lot relocated up on the Burndy site, that the discussion with the engineers was, what if we made the entrance coming in from Main Street in between Linwood Plaza and Citizens Bank, and made the entrance coming in that way, and then you just sort of
We don't
turn
own
right into
that.
the parking lot.
We don't own it.
That was the discussion, is
Right.
do we want to talk with Linwood Plaza and Paul Bartlett and see if the town wanted to put in either get a right of way on their land or put in a town road for that short little distance and make that a
Because you'd still have a road that
Entrance.
continue down to the kayak launch,
Mhm.
but it would
Right.
be short of turning into the parking lot.
Otherwise, the way the design is right now is you go into go into the parking lot at Jean's Playhouse
And come up.
and then drive up
Right,
with, basically over the snowmaking pipe
right.
to where that parking lot's gonna be. So you're going down, over, and then back towards Main
And it's
Street.
worth a conversation. Absolutely worth a
So I
conversation.
wasn't gonna have the conversation without
Yeah, no, it's
bringing up the idea.
certainly worth a conversation.
Okay.
But do we also, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Roger.
Wouldn't you have to go across, the state has some land with railroad tracks there?
The
State got a right away through there, there's tracks there?
There's tracks there up behind Linwood Plaza, but they end before Paul Bartlett's driveway. So the intent would be to not disturb or go over the tracks. It'd be to stay on this side of them.
The question is a good question Roger raised though, is I think the state may still have a right of way that extends almost out into where Riverwalk is. I think, even though it's.
Through
been
Paul's
abandoned.
building?
I think, but it would
All right,
all
well-
have to be investigated.
I mean, Paul Bartlett has a road there right now. I'm not sure what the engineers are thinking. We might want to go drift towards the railroad tracks if we can a little bit, but it's,
But I think that was just, they put the rocks there, and all of a sudden they started trapping there, there was no road there. I don't know where it landed.
yeah.
I know down further where Lincoln Center North had their gas tanks, that was on town land too. And they pulled those tanks out of there.
My question was going to be, will we need a driveway permit from the state, similar to what,
I would assume.
because it's coming onto 112,
I
so
would think we
Good
would.
point.
we'd have to cross that bridge as well. However, I think it's all worth a conversation.
I mean, there's two driveways there right now.
Right,
Maybe we
I
can
mean,
make it one.
My thought would be,
Maybe.
make it one, that Citizens Bank drive-through comes out onto here, Linwood Plaza comes out onto here, and the
well, again,
town park
I
is
think
straight
it's
ahead.
worth the conversation, but we have to
I-
consider that.
I
DOT
wasn't gonna have the
will be-
conversation with any landowner until I talk to you guys.
And just for, I'm looking at a 2016 global something sweeper that looks like one of Avery's for 120,000 with 111,000 miles on it. So I don't think buying sweepers,
We pay, would you say 49
a
a year?
100, yeah,
Pay 49 a year?
well, we don't pay
If we
anything,
did
we
it
decided
every
not
week,
to,
that's-
right?
Yeah.
The town doesn't need to be swept.
That's a lot of miles on something like that,
Oh,
too.
no, you sweep it yourself, I do mine.
It's a lot of miles on that brush.
All right.
Those brushes, you don't get very many miles out of those brushes,
No,
and you have to replace them, and they're
Right.
expensive.
right. So,
Anything else?
I have something for non-public
Okay,
legal, but that's it.
then I'll open up for public participation. Is there anyone?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I had built, I'm from Mass, so probably not too much. But I had built this, and I was looking to see if I could buy this property from
Okay,
the
well,
town.
Ron, why don't you fill the board in, introduce yourself to the board.
I'm Ray Carielli, I live at 35 Good Hope Road.
What Mr., how would you say your name?
Carielli.
Mr. Carielli, if you have more than one copy of this, we'll pass
I
this.
gave them,
Oh, is that what's in our folders?
that's in the red folder.
Oh, it's in the red folder.
Copy, I didn't know how-
So as an explanation, Mr. Carielli has
That's it.
built, currently constructed a garage.
Yep.
It's a garage that extends into the town's right of way. And before Ron caught it, it's pretty well all done. If it isn't done, it's very close.
Yeah.
So the planning department consulted me and I told them that the options are now to, one, move the building, two, the question was asked, could he buy the land? I said, well, that's the Board of Selectmen. They would, again, would have to investigate that. And the third would be to go to the ZBA for a waiver. Those are the options. If all that fails, then Mr. Coriola will have to move that building out of our right of way. So he's here to talk to you about
Can I
it.
see that real
And,
quick?
But the other problem is over where this pink is,
Yeah.
there's like a pine tree that's probably been there 300 years. And I don't want to touch that.
Okay, so talk to them. They're the ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is,
this is mine here, but this is like all wooded with the
Right.
pine tree here.
right, and this is where you built your,
No, the yellow here.
okay, you
So,
own that?
yes, I own this.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
So basically I went over my setback and into the town's
okay,
right. away.
here, okay,
Yes.
right in this little yellow piece?
Yep,
Okay,
and I had spoke to Nate and he came by and checked out where the water main was.
Yeah.
And it's well off of there, it's like out here.
yeah,
And, he had asked if they could still turn around in the driveway and have ready use to it because they turn around there when they plow,
right. And
which I don't mind.
Is the river here, over here?
No,
Where's
there's,
the river?
so there's this house and then another house and then the river.
Okay, so it's right as you go in. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, so like Maltese Farm Road.
Yeah.
I'm like 3 doors down from
Yeah.
some of the original woodlots.
Dick and Brenda.
Yeah.
Isn't he
so
across the street from Dick and Brenda, right?
Well,
Diagonal?
No, they're like down.
Then I don't,
One down
I'm,
across.
I can't picture where this is then.
Right here.
All right. I thought it was across the street from Cheryl.
It's on the
You're
exit
really
of
good
that
into
last corner.
It's what?
Here's the off ramp,
On the
and the
exit,
state,
last
here's
one to the left.
where it comes in, here's a smaller.
Okay, so this is where the dead end is.
Correct.
So he's on the corner, but he's way up that end.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's by the highway?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
By the highway,
By
okay.
the exit.
Yeah.
The exit.
Is that, oh, right to the exit?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so like,
Dick and Brenda
you know,
here, actually.
No,
coming back down
One of
this
these
way.
two.
you mean where the original house was?
No, the
Yeah.
original's down here,
Yeah.
okay, they're living up here now.
Yeah.
They also have a trailer on that
You
side.
know, like Maltese Farm Road up there,
That's where it is.
splits.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
And this house right across the street from
They
me, he's
built
like,
it, oops.
this is a fence that, borders the highway, basically.
They built off right here,
And
right?
here
It comes down, they built it off
building.
right up to the.
The building, yes, not this.
Not that.
When I did the
Oh, yeah.
house,
Was the garage existing?
yes,
So we're not talking about the garage being too close to the property
Just you
line.
added
No.
on to the garage?
This is the addition,
yes.
and is this setback here adequate on
Well,
this side?
right here is my setback. See this 15-foot line?
Okay, okay.
So. and
Okay,
that's
so
like
it's,
the setback.
it's close to this and to the front.
Yeah.
Can I request, I'll take a ride and see what we're looking at? Not tonight, obviously, and then
Yeah, I'd like to
discuss
go
it again
look at
next
it.
week.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Mine, does that work for you?
Oh, yeah, they just told me, to come in tonight
Yeah,
and at least
I want to
start.
see what
the-
we're looking at, because it's hard to, I can see
I
it on
didn't know
paper,
there's
it
any more
doesn't,
land back there.
of course, Ron has pictures.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna look for.
Yeah, let's see. Pictures too.
Take a walk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was,
I emailed the school that way.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you get like, there.
yeah, that's my house there.
You got rid
I
of that
wrote
awesome
down.
trailer that was.
Like I
there?
wrote nice right
Yeah,
there.
so that's the,
I never knew that.
Yes.
Is that tree on your property?
I think part of it's mine, it's a weird lot when they divided it with all the hybrid stuff. But, I'm still probably 18 feet from the street.
So it's your tree anyway, yes.
Yeah, go this way.
Yeah.
Whenever you get.
I think
How long is it before you butted up to the garage?
I'm butted up to the garage.
Yeah.
And it's 26 feet. It's 12 feet wide by 26, so it's big enough to. Just a little.
Yeah.
It's not like heated or anything like that.
The issue that, yeah, it's tragic that, it got built without a permit, because we'd have caught all this
Right.
in the permit process, but now he's got a building up, a very nice building, actually, and, yeah, there's,
You
under our
just told me
current
it-
rules, under enforcement of our current rules, there's
Yeah.
3 options. Move it, buy it, or
Remove
go
it.
to the ZBA and
ZBA.
get
All
a
right.
a waiver.
Oh, I thought you were asking when I did this. if I had a permit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like the
And
garage.
on my permit, which I still have the application, I just did an entryway over the
Yeah.
stairs,
Yeah.
which is on this application. No, as far as getting the permit for this, no, I did
You
not.
you did it for the garage.
No. I built it on a Friday and
It went up quick.
Chief Baird came by.
So if he goes to the ZBA, so he can get a waiver to keep
Oh,
that there?
no, there's no guarantee. His options are to,
Well, the ZBA can
Can grant a waiver.
grant a waiver for the setback.
correct. He does, he
This,
still would be on
this
our land.
triangle is on town land.
Right,
That's problematic.
That's not a ZBA.
No.
no,
I don't
okay,
think.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so
when
I
you
was
say
looking to
ZBA.
see if I could purchase this,
What, oh, yeah,
the front.
Oh, the road, it's been years since I've driven down that far, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't know,
haven't
isn't
been
that
walking
wide
the
to
road.
begin with, is it?
Yeah, the board should take a
It's
look.
not a super wide road to begin with, is it?
I mean, where I am, it's 25 feet or so
yeah.
wide, and,
But I'd want Nate to chime in on this.
Yeah, I'd like Nate to chime in, and
Nate's
I'd like to
gotta
take
chime
a
in
ride
on
and
this.
take a peek
Yeah.
at it too.
Right.
Nate was by actually.
Yeah,
That's a right of way.
I don't wanna say yay or nay either way and like get an eye on it.
Is it possible for
Can I
you
see
to
that?
move that? road?
Map, you're just looking at,
It's all
I just want you to picture of it so you have it in my phone when I get it out on that.
like, I basically have to take it down and,
Just wanted to.
Yeah.
To the right, I mean, because you're probably gonna move it, what, 3 feet? You'd still be in a setback violation, because your setback is right here.
Yep.
This whole thing should be here,
yeah,
okay, so, but if you could get out of our right of way, then the ZB would have something to rule on.
I mean, I can definitely,
You know,
I mean, I certainly don't mind.
see, because if the ZBA, because then you'd only be deciding the issue within your property
And if you want to
ownership.
Sure.
It's just that the violation then would just be a 15-foot setback
Setback,
violation,
not
not
an
on somebody
encroachment.
else's land. Whether it's a town or it was
Yeah,
your neighbor, okay? So if that
and there's
happened,
no way to purchase this.
well, that's what the board, I have
Oh,
no
okay.
say in that, that's what they gotta, but it's gonna make it a lot, you just heard one earlier, we just went
Yeah.
through 3 weeks, well, it's been almost 4 weeks of negotiating,
Yeah.
it's not a simple process for this board to transfer ownership of land, that's.
So
Right.
you, oh, okay, so you already been in front of the ZBA.
Yes, when I built the house here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there was a violation there, and I believe you got a ZBA ruling
So
on
you
that.
were aware that you needed a building permit and you built it anyway?
I mean, I wasn't aware, I mean, yeah, I'm a builder in Boston.
Of course you were. I mean, how could you not know this stuff?
I mean, I figured, you know, in New Hampshire, I'm building, it wasn't like I was building living space, it's a
That's-
boat
Oh, wait,
store.
no,
That's
it's
the problem.
only,
Live for your dog.
so it's only Lincoln, New Hampshire, so it doesn't matter?
No, I mean, you know, I mean, there's a lot of violations out there, you know, I just.
We know it, believe me. We're trying to
Yeah.
we're trying to catch the
Take
violation.
it down.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he pulled up, I had a fire going, I had my sprinkler on it, and I was building.
Today?
No, this was Friday when he caught. Okay, and 3 violations, which I didn't know because I'm from out of town. I was one of the uneducated people he told me about.
You were educated when you went to the ZBA last year to get the approval to build your house. There's your
Yeah.
education, you knew you needed a building permit.
For the house, yes, the garage,
Oh,
boat store.
and I'm a builder in Boston, I know you need permits, but this is only Lincoln, New
This
Hampshire.
is only
Now
like
you
Lincoln,
pissed
we
me
don't
off.
matter, right?
No,
Let's
it's
get
not.
on, come on,
Let's get it over on those.
I know. We're
yeah.
only half here.
Yeah.
Come on. No, I didn't look at it
You
like
can
that.
have a seat now, because I'll take a ride, we'll bring it up again next week.
Yeah,
Thank you
definitely.
for coming in.
All right.
And
Appreciate
I
it.
think it's fair to say that the toughest part now is to get it off, it turns out to be the town's one. That's the only solution for that is to tear it down and move it or buy it. So unlike if it was all on your, then we would just be back to the ZBA, you'd be
Yeah.
begging the
Yeah,
ZBA to.
and Nathan came by, he said he's got plenty of room still.
So they're gonna go look at it and I think
Yeah.
that's the best.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, Paul, you had your hand up for public participation?
That's something I have to bring up to you, so I bring it back there. We had a ZBA meeting. And. Great. All right, read it to you, or you want to do it?
Well, if we're gonna discuss this, probably should read it out loud, and either you can do it or I can do it.
Pardon me, Jose?
I said, if we're gonna discuss this in a public meeting, I'd like to read it out loud.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fine.
All right, so dear Lincoln Board of Selectmen, I would like to request that you apply for a rehearing of this Lincoln ZBA recent request for variance, request for 11 Queensway, map 130, lot 89, that was decided and voted on by the ZBA on September 16th, 2020. We as a board failed to exercise our duty in accordance with RSA 674:33, as well as our own rules of procedure adopted on June 8, 2011, that we consider and vote on a variance for the following questions. A, the variance will not be contrary to public interest. B, the spirit of the ordinance is observed. C, substantial justice is done. D, the value of the surrounding properties are not diminished. And E, literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. The variance was granted without consideration of the above questions being taken into consideration in a vote on each one, as has been done for all variance requests that have come before the Lincoln ZBA in the past. In our ZBA rules of procedure, as well as RSA 674-33, we are required to answer and vote on each of these questions before the approval of a variance. I believe there are many reasons why this happened, but to deliberate on them would serve no one and only cause delay in the appeal for a rehearing. I have brought this to the attention of Carol Bont, the town planner, who sent it to the town attorney for his review. The reason I am requesting this from the Board of Selectmen is that Peter Malley was not sure that I could request such an appeal. However, the Board of Selectmen could, as indicated in RSA 677:2. Time is of the essence in your filing of the request for a rehearing, so I would appreciate your taking this up at tonight's Lincoln Board of Selectmen meeting. So I'm familiar with the rules regarding asking each question and voting on each question as a full board separately. It's the same thing with a special exemption, different questions, but the same. Right. Vote on A, then vote on B, then, and if any one of them fails, it fails. Right. And that you're saying that was not done?
Correct. And then our like I said, even in our rules of procedure, and I don't think Peter Malley was aware that our rules of procedure dictates that we answer those questions as part of our operation.
That's what it is.
So I mean, we just made this error, and I think we need to straighten out. I think request it before the selection can.
Can I read Peter's letter?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a copy of it too. Yeah.
Just because I actually haven't read it.
Letter. I have Peter's email.
Email. Sorry, yeah, it's an email.
I gave you a copy of that.
I don't know. Where'd you get it?
I don't forwarded to the board today, Paul. Peter's email was forwarded to the board.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what you guys have to, yeah.
I mean,
And then, like I said, I don't think when Peter made his email that he was aware that our rules of procedure also had this.
And Carol and I both were on vacation.
Mhm.
Carol neglected to put the form that
Mhm.
they typically have in the file. But I guess there was a long discussion about it anyway.
Well, there wasn't. It
Well,
wasn't
I
in
don't
the
know.
application. Yeah, but like I said, there's a whole bunch of reasons that it happened.
I have three
We
things.
consider and deliberate on those all we want, but the fact is, it didn't happen. As far as I'm concerned, it's something that should have been done. We should still do it. The application was for installing a stone wall and a setback, within a setback. So that, because of all the stone wall stuff that's happened in this town, I think it's pretty important to have those questions answered.
I have three things.
I don't know whether it would change the decision or not, probably not, but I would think not, but yeah, I can't say it.
Yeah, I haven't seen this. Do you want to read it out loud?
I'll read it out loud because I don't have it either.
I don't have it either.
Three
But
things for
that's-
today. Two from town hall, one from town meeting about public service. So it doesn't- RSA, Carol, RSA 677:2 is motion for rehearing of Board of Adjustment, Board of Appeals, and local legislative body decisions. It says, within 30 days after any order or decision of the zoning Board of Adjustment or any decision of the local legislative body or a Board of Appeals in regard to its zoning, the selectmen, any party to the action or proceedings, or any person directly affected thereby, may apply for a rehearing in respect to any matter determined in the action or proceeding or covered or included in the order, specifying in the motion for a rehearing ground, therefore, and the Board of Adjustment may grant such rehearing if, in its opinion, good reason therefore is stated in the motion. How's that? Pretty clear so far?
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. As a board member, I don't think Paul can request a rehearing. If he's in a butter, then he would qualify. I think Paul should make a written request to the selectmen to file a motion for rehearing and explain why. Time is of the essence, so this should be on the agenda for next selectmen's meeting. If Paul wants to make the request, if the request is based on the fact that the board did not consider and vote on each of the variance criteria, then the selectmen could file a motion for rehearing for that reason. not necessarily because they think the board got the decision wrong, but because they want the board to vote on each of the variance criteria. However, this is entirely up to the selectmen. They could decide to decline Paul's request and let the decision stand.
And as I said, I'm not sure at that time that Peter wrote this, that he understood that that our rules of procedure also included this. So that opens up a whole nother question that we can follow our rules of procedure. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
My feeling would be to err on the side of caution, that if the rules weren't followed, whatever the intent was, even if the end result was the way everybody liked it, if the rules weren't followed, this opens it up for a complaint, a litigation, a problem with the next owner and the next abutter down the road, go back and say, look, this wasn't done right.
Or someone else precedent things what I get concerned about.
Right, or the next guy coming in to do the same thing, and it's like, well, you didn't vote on these the last time, so.
Yeah. It may be a safety issue too, so it's good to go back and reevaluate.
Well, what it does by answering those questions is
Yeah.
it gives everybody the reason why you're allowing that variance.
Correct.
It's not just.
And we have religiously, Carol's seen that they took votes, and so she wasn't, she wasn't here, and it didn't get in the poll. So therefore, it was not, the list was not attached, but they should, I think, there should be those questions should be answered.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's the whole thing.
With that being said, I don't know just the technical procedure to apply for an appeal. We take a vote here.
I think you just fill out the form. Carol should have a form, right, for appeal?
Yeah, like we can get it to the board.
Yeah,
but that's
it should be a
basically
form
you
for
could make it a
appeal.
motion tonight.
To the board, so I can fill it out, sign it, and then we just read here.
What's the fee?
You better check with Carol.
Carol would know
That's
that.
a good question, or Peter.
Yeah, if they have an appeal, I believe the appeal.
It can change, if it can, I would check with Peter, because if there's a possibility it could change the decision, then you want the abutters there.
I think the abutters have to be there. Or have to be notified, not be there, but be notified. So anyway, I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen appeal the September 16th, sorry,
Right.
was that the right date? The September 16th decision of the ZBA.
On the grounds that they didn't.
Okay, on the grounds that they didn't follow their own procedure.
So like basically all you're contesting is that there was no vote on those criteria, not on the decision.
Right, on the procedure.
criteria.
All right, so that's my motion.
Further discussion for a moment?
Yeah.
Litigiously, I guess this is okay. We're gonna go forward with this because I would be upset if I was told yes and then being told.
But it's part of it's within the 30 days, so every applicant's got to know that
30
there's
days.
30 days before.
And they're aware of that.
Well, they
Okay.
should be there, whoever is
Okay.
representing them.
All right.
That's disclosed on the notice.
Yeah.
Okay. good to
That's
know.
right.
Thank you.
That's right.
That's
all
the
permits.
That's
We
the
just need
rush.
to do better, that's all. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
That's the rush to get within the 30 days.
Yep.
Yes. So they'll have to meet, like, I don't know when they're scheduled, but like right off, they'll have to come back in and
Right.
set for that, just that issue.
You seconding?
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I will abstain. My husband sits on the ZBA, so I'm gonna err on the side of caution and abstain.
Aye, aye.
Go ahead.
There we go.
So we'll get a form tomorrow. We'll get with Carol, get the form. We'll get two of you
Yeah.
come in and sign it.
Sign it.
Yeah.
And we'll get it to the chair of the board. Get it scheduled.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
The one other thing I did was, I wanted to ask, were you aware that a couple of cases of COVID in Waterville Valley High School or elementary school?
No. I was not aware.
I mean, I listened to
What?
Change daughter. Change.
Vicky,
Vicky.
and I was thinking about that. Change Vicky, I'm sorry. It made me think about that, last thing you want is your children to get COVID and bring it home to their grandparents. That's what everyone's always afraid of.
Last thing you want is your children to get it. And now that there's the multi-system organ failure syndrome, the kids are getting 3 months after having COVID. It's,
That's not the first time I heard that we're getting that.
But
Yeah.
the water, I mean, the water bill thing was expanded
Yeah, we-
in elementary school. It wasn't just last year.
and I don't know, never mind. They weren't long-time Waterville residents either. They were new students.
Oh.
I didn't do that.
And it was
All right, anyone else for public? Then I'm gonna read a letter we got from Rich Sakakini. And this was just, I guess, came in today. Thank you for your prompt reply to my letter of August 27th, sent to the Board of Selectmen. Unfortunately, I respectfully take issue with the response as it did not address my request to the town. First, Bob Durfee, who is the engineer on the levee from Du Bois King, states that I should contact the United States Army Corps of Engineers to determine if the repairs the town made to the levee extension currently meet the Army Corps design standards to be included in the PL 8499 rehabilitation program. I feel this is both impractical and, in fact, not procedurally correct. The town has all of the design and construction drawings and is in a much better position to answer any questions the Army Corps might have. In addition, you stated in a previous BOS meeting, and as specified in the January 28, 2020 letter to the town, the sponsor, which is the town, of the project should do this. Butch, I want to, again, this letter is addressed to you, that's right. Butch, I want to again emphasize that what I'm asking can be done by the town with a minimum of effort and virtually no expense. Asking and getting the answer to this question is in no way commits the town to any long-term liability. Second, Bob Durfee states that the owner of the levee extension will have to complete and file an OMR form. Again, this is not what I requested. I asked what are the maintenance requirements referenced in the Army Corps January 28, 2020 letter to the town. The good news is, it appears from your letter that the draft of the operation and maintenance manual, and the 6/22/2020 draft, included maintenance recommendations for the levee extension. So the town already has the answer to my question. I would appreciate you emailing these requirements to me at your earliest convenience. Butch, we have an opportunity here to greatly reduce the potential for significant legal and/or construction costs down the road for both the town and the abutters by taking some low-cost actions now. As a taxpayer that has already paid over $40,000 in taxes to the town and does not utilize significant town services, I'm not asking for much here. Also, as previously stated, I am willing to discuss entering into a binding joint maintenance agreement with the town. Let's work together and put this behind us now. So he's asking two things. The easy one is to forward the operations and maintenance manual, which we have the draft and that's public information. We can send him that. We don't have a final copy, but when we do, that'll be public information also.
Right.
The other is he's asking us to contact the Army Corps to determine if the repairs made by the town to the levee extension meet the Army Corps design standards enough to be included in this PL 8499 rehabilitation program. So he's basically asking us as the sponsor and the holder of the design to see if it meets those standards.
So can I chime in there?
Mm-hmm.
So I could write that letter,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but I would be asking the Corps. The Corps signed off on the way it wasn't King's design for the levee extension. They did. Does it meet the requirements to go into the PL 400 program? I have no idea. That's what the town's gonna, that's what Rick wants us to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to answer that, because I don't know.
Can we ask the Corps, the Army Corps, if they can tell us whether it meets those standards or not, without automatically putting it in there.
I think that's, I think we should do it with legal advice. Just saying.
I mean, yeah, that's what, does asking the question automatically make it become part of that?
All right.
That should be discussed. I'm just saying that too. But his letter is both.
Okay,
We can get the draft to him. There wasn't a lot of thought other than to shake that back up. My guess is it does not meet the state.
well, let's not guess. Let's send him the draft. That takes care of half of his request. And let's talk about how and if to have input from our lawyer and either ask the question or have him ask the question. And we'll do that non-public.
Could you possibly hire an independent engineer and have the gentleman pay for it to see if it meets that requirement before you go to the Army Corps of Engineer? That way there, because an independent engineer would be able to know what the Army Corps of Engineers standard for, take a look at it. If he really wants to do that, ask him to pay for it. Hey, look, we don't want to get involved in this unless we have some idea.
It may
See
be,
where his,
I don't know.
see where his real heart is.
I mean, it's his purview to
We
do
can
that or not. We don't have to
We
ask
can
him
ask
to,
him.
he could do it.
I would like to talk about this in non-public and decide what the next steps are. So, all right. With that, then we have.
Nothing else in that folder?
Oh. Is reimbursement for capital expenditures, we both have to sign off on. That's a copy of the fire notice from the state, lots of, and then building, well, I think it was building driveway permits, if you're welcome to follow through. What's that? Yeah, tomorrow at 9.
The budget.
Did you see the,
5:30.
I don't even know if she sent out the updated,
I've been on lunch today, so I haven't seen.
okay, all right, well, we can talk about it in the morning. I think you'll
She did send
like
out
it.
the
She
Can I
did.
call?
I thought I couldn't remember. I get them so often. Was that this week or last week? So I'm gonna make a motion to go into non-public to discuss that legal issue with the levy, and was there another? Oh, yeah, the CRVI
I'll keep you updated.
update.
Sign permit?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna take a minute.